is, everybody? Don't mind me, I'm just a little sick, so if my voice sounds sexual in nature, that's why. My New Year resolution is not to watch the director's cut of Rebel Moon. I refuse to be a willing participant in Netflix's scam to attempt to get 4 movies on the budget of 1 film. I don't really care about how much gratuitous sex and violence there is. With that said, welcome to the things you like. This week we're going to go over the 11 most anticipated films of 2024, according to Google search results, with a couple of honorable mentions because Google search results is an imperfect tracker of people's intent. What I mean is there are 14 movies with search counts of average monthly searches, let's call them AMS for time, in the 100,000 to 400,000 range, but 3 of them have Google ambiguity. For example, the movie If, Imaginary Friends, has an AMS of 40, but no one is typing that full name out. So if you change your search entry to If Movie, you get an AMS of 5,500, a little higher. But if you just look for the AMS of if, capital I, capital F, then you'll find an AMS of 246,000. I don't know who is just Googling the word if, but you must have your reasons. Now, I personally think the concept of If Imaginary Friends is an embarrassingly bad concept. If it was an R-rated concept with a much more vulgar-based humor, that would be funnier. But as it stands, I don't think anybody wants this and no one is searching for it. The movie Challengers also falls into this category. This search history is most likely driven by the Dodge Challenger. This movie is about a love triangle amongst tennis players, which is a plot that seems unlikely to drive the kind of traffic, but there are a few unmistakable surprises on the list, so who knows? It does have Zendaya. The last one is the one that's probably the most interesting to me. A24 is releasing a movie titled Civil War and pulled down an AMS around 250K. With that said, it's a super ambiguous title, obviously. The Civil War is probably the most researched topic amongst middle-aged men in America. Old people, middle-aged people, they be looking this up. Also, it's researched in schools across the country. So people are already Googling this topic before they even heard of this movie. With that said, A24 is a hot studio right now. They did just drop a trailer, so maybe this is all driven by the recent drop of that trailer. Who knows? All right, now that we've established some ground rules, we've identified what we're looking for here, let's get into the video. But before we do that, please, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, be greatly appreciated. If you don't, well, nothing bad's going to happen to you. You're probably going to have a great day if we're honest with each other. But please do. Tied for number 10 is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes with 110,000 searches. KOTPOTA, for short, spelled out, is an absolute mouthful. So if you figure that some of the results for Planet of the Apes should be attributed to this, then it probably should be higher on this list. Personally, I'm reasonably excited for this movie. I like the franchise overall. I think all the post-Burton entries have been at least solid, if not exceptional. POTA is definitely an underrated franchise, and now there is word that KOTPOTA will be spawning a new trilogy set on the same timeline, and I am pretty jacked for it. This probably would have been higher on my personal list, but I'm not the king of America after all. Tied with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes for number 10 is Gladiator 2. Gladiator 2 is interesting. It could be the Top Gun Maverick of swords and sandals. I like the people involved for the most part. Give me Pedro Pascal in anything, please, and thank you. I just hope it stays brutal and smart. That's the optimistic side of how this movie could go. It could also be lazy and derivative. It could be The Matrix Resurrections. Dun dun dun. Next up, we have a two-way tie for number 8 on the list. One is way less interesting to me than the other, and that is Kung Fu Panda 4. This one gets a big who caresville from me, but apparently America disagrees with 135,000 AMS. Look, I think I get it. Jack Black is a fat panda, and he's doing some silly stuff. I just don't really care about this. Just to be brutally honest, I don't really care. It does have Angelina Jolie and Jackie Chan, which is cool, but just looking at the cast list will show you how long they've been doing these goddamn films. I'm personally more excited for a film like Mickey 17 from Bong Joon-ho, which won't be making this list. Tied for Kung Fu Panda for number 8 with 135,000 AMS is a very surprising film, Arthur the King. I was about to arbitrarily remove this from my search, but fortunately I wound up leaving it on because people are genuinely excited about these films. I personally love the annual dog movie. It's a great time. It's a little sad sometimes, a little funny other times. They usually have a ton of soul. Last year we had Strays. The year before that was Dog with Channing Tatum. Sign me up for a seat in row G on March 21st. There is Google ambiguity with Arthur the King and King Arthur, but who is typing in Arthur the King when they mean King Arthur? Also, there was a month-over-month spike of 9,000%, which means they're probably meaning to look for this movie. Also, it comes out soon. We've had trailers drop. It's on the list. There's once again a tie for number 6. I'll keep the same pattern by going with the one that I think will suck ass going first. So number 7, we have Joker, and the name I won't say. I can talk to you about why you were all suckers for making Joker a billion-dollar movie, but we can save that for another time. This one is probably going to be equally as generic, and this time it will feature idiots breaking out into song. At least it will be Lady Gaga dressed up as Harley Quinn doing the singing. That's an improvement. Could have been Margot Robbie, which we're all happy with her performance, but who knows if she can sing. I would love to not see this, but with these search numbers, I guess I have to do a video on this dumb franchise at some point. Next up is Nosferatu. Nosferatu! There are a lot of people, a lot smarter than me, that are really excited about this film. Lots of intellectual buzz with 165,000 worth of searches for a movie that is almost a year away and doesn't have a trailer. People are really pumped for it. I'm mostly just excited to have a buffet of blockbusters around the holidays this year. 2023 largely got Scrooged in that regard. And just for house cleaning, Nosferatu does have some Google ambiguity. I tried to clean that up by saying Nosferatu movie and looking for specific searches related to the 2024 film. Number 5 is Madame Web or Madame Web, whatever. People are looking for this movie with a 200,000 AMS. This is so high to me. It just goes to show you that superheroes are still king in this market, or queens. Because she's a lady. Sony has 2 of their Marvel associated films appearing on this list, and I don't know why, right? They've been so bad, every single one of them. They've been terrible. They just keep putting them out, diluting the Marvel brand. This movie looks bad, and is bad undoubtedly. Don't believe me? Just look at the trailer. Any studio can afford a really kick-ass trailer, and if they can't, it's because they don't want to sink any more sunk costs into your shitty movie. And if you want a movie that's likely to be more fun and released around the same time, go see Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Apparently only 27,000 people search for that movie on average, which is bad news for that film. Number 4 is another Sony nightmare, Craven the Hunter, with 246,000 searches. This movie might not wind up being bad, but also it sure seems like it is. And while I don't know much about Craven, I think they fundamentally changed his character. I know how much dorks love that. Anyway, if you get to August 30th and you're looking for a popcorn film that's probably going to be much better, I would check out Alien Romulus, which only has 40,000 AMS. Coming in at number 3, we have Dune Part 2 with 300,000 AMS, a sequel to a film that barely outperformed its budget, though it did technically fall in the pandemic window. I'm surprised it's up this high, but not that it's on the list in general. Hopefully the sequel is a little more action-oriented and a little less teaching me how to do a desert walk. I'm never gonna go to that fucking desert, okay? I don't need to learn. That being said, I am excited for this movie. The first in the franchise looked great, had an outstanding Hans Zimmer score, and an incredible cast to boot. So if nothing else, I expect at least that much out of this sequel. Before we get to the top 2, let's take a deep breath and have a look at a couple other movies that I think probably should be on this list. And while you're breathing deep, take a second to subscribe to the channel. There's new content on this channel every Saturday. These are some films that could be on the list, but they have long titles, or they have dumb titles, or haven't received any publicity, and therefore didn't do well in search results. First, we'll go with 2 movies I've already recommended, already talked about a little bit, Ghostbusters and Alien. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is likely too long of a title, and Alien hasn't gotten any pub. And as I learned earlier, Romulus isn't as intuitively spelt as I thought. Then you have Godzilla X Kong, which is a world-class dumb movie title. There's a ton of Godzilla vs. Kong going into the search bar, which I assume is meant for GXK, but since there's a movie called Godzilla vs. Kong, I didn't put it on the list. But if all the searches for GVK were meant for GXK, it would be number 1 by far. But only 33,000 searched specifically for this title, so I had to draw the line somewhere. Finally, you have Venom 3, which is nowhere to be found on the internet. Zero pub whatsoever. And despite these films being okay at best, with a trailer drop, this film would probably be sliding in at number 4. Alright, now let's get back to our list. Number 2 on this list was a surprise to me. Beetlejuice, the sequel, the long-awaited sequel to a beloved property, has 385,000 AMS, and I think people are genuinely excited about it. Everyone loves Michael Keaton, and Jenna Ortega is a budding superstar. That said, Tim Burton's films are not my taste, and with a budget of $170 million, this movie might have trouble getting back to break even when you consider marketing and everything else on top of it. But with fan interest being this high, who knows? It might blow the roof off. Number 1 on the list should be pretty obvious. It's Deadpool 3 coming in with 390,000 AMS. This is not only the most searched property, but it's also the property with the most buzz about it. You can feel people are very excited about it when you talk to them. And with it being Marvel's only offering this year, it's Deadpool's show to steal. But rest assured, Disney will mess it up. I mean, they must have lost $1 billion in films last year. But I'm crossing my fingers for a great Deadpool though. I would love an MCU comeback. And if you're curious about how the MCU could execute their comeback, I made a video on just that topic. Just click that magical box right there on the screen. Or if you want to see a video on Zack Snyder's definitive film rankings, I have a video on that too. Magical box, whatever, also right there. You can also go to the comments to give me an attaboy, show vitriol, or you can request a video about a specific topic that you would like for me to cover on this channel. Or you can just come back next week and we can talk more about the things you like.